when it comes to design, planning matters. If you were building a house, you would want clear and detailed blueprints before construction started. While the same is to be said about learning experiences. Wireframes are like the blueprints to the learning experience. They map out where everything is going to go. The text, the layout, the buttons, the illustrations, everything. And if you're wondering, well, what tool can I use to create wireframe? The answer is Figma, of course. Hello, I'm Sabrina, and I'm an instructional designer and bootcamp pro on Devlin's team. I help people every day on their upskilling journey to become instructional designers. In my last video, How to Create Instructional Design Style Guides, we talked about the chaos that is design. That without a solid plan, things can get really crazy and everyone's doing different things and no one's on the same page. Well, a style guide helps us with those guidelines to start that design process, but we still have a lot of design decisions to make before we dive into development. Wireframes help us do that. And there are lots of different ways to create wireframes, but stay tuned because I'm going to tell you why Figma is the perfect choice for wireframes, and we'll even build a wireframe together. If you missed that video on style guides or even the video on introducing you to Figma, be sure to check out the playlist that we'll link below, Figma tutorials for instructional designers. So what exactly are wireframes? Well, they are the blueprints to the design, like I said. They focus on the layout and remove any distractions as we're doing those designs. So when you start designing, it's really easy to get distracted by the colors and fonts with all of these different decisions you have to make. But wireframes keep it simple. It's usually grayscale, so things are just, like I said, very simple. And we just focus on the layout and usability. So a quick example is here. Here is a wireframe. You can see it's in grayscale, very basic. We have a space where we're looking at the text prompt. We have the button included and we have our character. But it's very, very basic and it's really just focused on the layout. And wireframes, they also prioritize the user experience. They focus on that visual hierarchy. And so here you can see we have our character, things are balanced, but our priority is the text and then our button. And we can focus on that hierarchy. If we're looking at like a title and a subtitle, we make those boxes bigger and smaller, depending to focus on that hierarchy. And we really focus here on that user experience because we don't want users to be frustrated later down the line. And when we can focus on just the basics, getting things really nice before we move into color, like I said, it removes all those distractions and we can just really focus. It also is a great opportunity to collect feedback. So stakeholders can take a look at this and get a general idea of what the look and feel is going to be of your learning experience without being distracted by color. It's also really nice too, so if you don't use rectangles here for like redacted text, if you actually put the text into your storyboard, from your storyboard into the wireframe, stakeholders can take a look at this and only focus on the story and the layout. And they're not distracted by the color saying like, I don't really like the blue of this button, or this character doesn't really represent things, but you can get feedback on just those small pieces, layout and story, or in this case, just layout. So it's a great way to collect that feedback. Wireframes lay the groundwork for our learning experience. They help create a cohesive and effective learning journey for our users. And that's super important. Wireframes can be hand-drawn, so sketched on paper and pencil, or they can be digital using a tool like Figma. So let's compare those two. All right, hand-drawn versus digital. With paper and pencil, there is some limited flexibility for iteration, and it takes a little bit longer for you to like redraw everything. It may be quicker at first, right? Because paper and pencil is a pretty familiar tool. You can get in there, draw things, redraw multiple times, but it does take a lot of time, especially if you are working on that like spacing and making sure everything is like really good and like solid spacing all around. If it's a sketch, it's probably going to be really rough and may not be exactly the look and feel that you're going for. So at first, maybe a quicker process, but down the line, it may take a little bit longer. Paper and pencil is very challenging for collaboration. You have to make copies of the paper that you drew on, get those dispersed to people or scan them and send them. But then that kind of makes it hard for comments because they can't just like leave a comment directly on that sheet if you're sending it digitally. So it doesn't make collaboration really that easy. And also just like storing those papers and having to keep track of everything and keep track of all those iterations on different papers is just kind of a nightmare. And they are also going to be inconsistent, right? Because if you are drawing them out and you're not always using like a ruler or anything to measure everything out precisely, they're going to start to be really inconsistent. But one benefit of paper and pencil is that it is low cost and I guess pretty easy to just pick up and do. So that's one of the things with paper and pencil. Those benefits are it's low cost and familiar, but it can be really inconsistent and limited with making iterations. But digital, on the other hand, in Figma, it is highly flexible for iterations. You can take a slide, duplicate it, and then make adjustments. Duplicate, make adjustments. Super easy to quickly get in there. Of course, with any tool, there's a little bit of like learning time. But if you missed the video of how to get introduced to Figma, be sure to check that out. We'll link it below, and it's also in the playlist. So once you get into Figma and you learn the tool, it's really quick to make those iterations. Like I said, you just duplicate the slide, change whatever you need to change. The other thing is streamlined collaboration. Figma is fantastic because we have this comments tool up here where you can leave a comment directly where you have feedback. And so it's easy to share it. It's easy to gather that feedback. It makes things really, really nice. Instead of having people all huddled around one document or sending out those copies, things like that. It's also really nice because Figma allows for precision. In the other video, we'll get rid of that. You can see, so from this box, if I press Alt and mouse over, you can see it's 50 from the top, 50 from the side. So I can be really precise with my measurements and make sure everything looks really good and clean. And then that's not distracting, right? That like, oh, there's some inconsistencies. I can make it exactly where I want it. And that's not distracting when I'm gathering feedback. So that precision is really, really nice. And paper and pencil is low cost. Figma is a free program. Of course, you have to provide your computer and things like that. But the program Figma is free. So that is super beneficial and definitely a bonus point for Figma that we get all of these things. And so both methods, like I said, have their pros and cons, great things about them, easy to pick up, but limited flexibility. You can learn this pretty quickly. It's free, lots of ways to collaborate, lots of flexibility. But Figma also helps us speed up our design process. And so to increase your workflow while you're using Figma, be sure to download the Figma keyboard shortcuts linked in the description below. All right, now that we know Figma is going to be the tool of choice for our wireframes because of all of these great benefits it has, let's go ahead and dive into creating a wireframe together. Just as a reminder where we are, we're pretending that we've already worked with our client, conducted the needs analysis, learning objective, storyboard, and now we're in the mockup phase. We've done our style guide in the last video. Now we're going to work on the wireframes, and then next time we will work on high fidelity mockups. So let's dig into this. Okay, so I've already started some of the wireframes because they're pretty basic layouts. So here is like the intro. It's going to be a cinematic intro, so I figured there's going to be some text at the top. It'll be like a little video. They can replay or they can go to the next thing. Not sold on these buttons, but I just wanted placeholders for now. Here's our title screen. I played with button placement, and that's really what the wireframes are for, because if I had like all the colors in the background already, then I'd be worried about like, oh, is this going to get lost? Do I need this here? But I have some ideas to play with. So when I get into those high fidelity mockups where I have the images and the colors added, I have options. I don't have to go through and just like from scratch refigure things out. I have some options here. Here is like where I'm going to introduce the mentor character, and I wanted there to be like a speech bubble and a character, worked on that layout, what felt more balanced. Here I'm kind of treating them as a unit and moving things over. Here it's more focused on the text. So just some ideas of like, where do I want to go next? And then here's when the mentor character is going to introduce their little button that we can select anytime to figure out where they are. And this one is a continuation from here. So just playing with layouts, seeing what's going on. All right. I have taken a screenshot of the storyboard, the slide that we are going to build together. And right now I am just using Control on my mouse wheel to zoom in. And again, like I said, if you want to speed up your workflow, you can download that free Figma keyboard shortcut document that we'll link down below. Using the shortcut really speeds things up, so I definitely recommend taking a look. Okay, so here we are. It's going to be a question slide, so we'll have our question up at the top, some answer choices. We will need our mentor button somewhere so that they can select it. we can see that the visual notes we're going to be looking at inside a kitchen, because again, the story here is we need our customer, our client was asking about how we can help train their kitchen staff on responding to emergencies. In this case, we're looking at a grease fire for this like small little piece. So it's going to be inside a kitchen. We're going to have a background stuff, so like there's going to be a stove, things like that. There's going to be a fire. So those are going to be all things that we want to consider as we are building our wireframes. We don't have to worry about what is that background kitchen going to look like. We don't have to worry about like the fire right now, anything like that. We are just creating the wireframe, focusing only on the layout. So let's get started. I am going to create a frame. So I can come up here and select it, or I can press F. Since I'm here, I'll click, and then I'm just going to click where I want it. All of my slides, I have been doing 1280 by 720, which is a 16:9 ratio. The reason I'm doing that is because I do plan on creating a 16:9 ratio when I'm working in Storyline. All right. Frame 1 is not descriptive at all, so let's change that. This is going to be slide 1.6, question 1. So I'm going to name it that just so I think they're nice and cohesive. 1.6. Oh. Question 1. All right. Well, we know we're going to have an inside view of the kitchen, so I'm going to have a background image. And I just need this X in the back to show that I'm going to have a full image. So actually, let's save ourselves some work. I'm going to select the background image, Control C, come here, paste it. And then I'm going to go up here and center. All right, there we go, background image. Now, I know that I'm going to have a question and some answer choices. I've been going with rounded edges, so I definitely want to stick with that theme. And I'm going to have the mentor button. So the mentor button is up at the top. I'm going to just go ahead and copy this, paste it here so I have it. Let's see, what was that layout? I can see that 1130 and then 50. So I'll do the same here for consistency. All right, perfect. Now I want to go ahead and make that question box. So what's nice about wireframes is once you build some like basic elements, you can just reuse those. That's the nice part. So I see this prompt box here is pretty large. That may be a good idea for this. So I'm going to just take that rectangle and paste it. I pasted it in the same slide. That's okay. I'll just drag it down. Okay. Now, if I want to get my spacing nice, I'm going to press Alt and check 100, 100. That's what I want. I see I have some room down here to come down. I can come down 55 more pixels. In Figma, I can drag this down and then keep checking to measure. But what's nice is I know I have 55 pixels to work with. So I can increase the height of this rectangle 55 pixels. So what I can do over here in the height is I can click and then just say plus 55, and it's going to adjust. And now 100 all around. So perfect. I like the way that looks. Let's move our mentor button to the front. Oops. That didn't work. Why didn't that work? Oh, because I'm only on. For some reason, my mentor button got caught in the background image. There we go. I'm seeing that this mentor button is looking small, so that may be something that I do need to change later down the line. But for now, I have it as a placeholder. Okay, let's start adding in our buttons and our text. I liked the buttons we're using here, this rounded edge, but I know in order to fit the words in here, it's going to have to be longer. So let's go ahead and make some new ones. I can go up here to choose my rectangles, or I can press R and add that in. My corner radius on this is 15. So over here, I'm going to change it to 15. Let's go ahead and we'll keep it white. For consistency, I'm going to add a stroke. I believe this is 3 pixels. All right. So far, everything I've been doing with my spacing has been 100 or 50 away for the padding, and then 100 for margin. So let's keep that the same. Not quite where I wanted it. Closer. All right, and this has 30 pixels. So for my width, I'm gonna add 30. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's change the height to 100 for now, just to see. I know I'm gonna have some text in there. And so my body text in my style guide, my body text was 28 pixels. If we come back to here. So in my wireframes, what I did was these boxes that are representing my height, I just added a couple more pixels to round it up. So 30 pixels, kind of like, I guess to account for like line height is what I did. So again, I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to paste it down here. And I just want to focus on my spacing. So 50. It's not quite 50 on top and bottom, which is what I've been doing for my padding. So I may have to adjust that. Okay, let's see. So 35 and 35. That's not quite what we want. So I'm going to increase this by 30. And then now let's center that. Okay, that's more of what I'm looking for. And this text is pour water on the fire. So it might be a little bit longer. Maybe here. Okay. I'm already seeing that it's going to be tough to fit the 3 of these. So I may have to play around with spacing a little bit more. But for now, let's see what happens. So what I just did was I selected the text and the button, or what we're using for the text and the button, and then held down Alt and dragged down to make a copy. And do the same to make another one here. Okay, so yeah, we are running out of space. But because of this padding and margin that I've been using, these like 50s and 100s, I can go ahead and change some of those things. Let's actually try. I'm going to change this down a bit. So let's go back to 100. And we will center this. So now if I measure, okay, let's try a spacing of 25. That may be a little too tight. So I'm going to do -20. Yeah, that's a little crowded. Let's go with 100 for now. We can always go back and make adjustments. And that's the nice thing of wireframes is like, this is just where we can make those iterations and those changes. Right now, I just really want to focus on the layout. I have time to work with the spacing. All right. So I'm going to group these. So I'm going to click the black box and the white one, press Control G. Do that for all of these, just so it makes it easier when I'm moving things around. Okay, so now if I check, I'm 100 away, 81 away down here, but that's okay. I think I'm going to do 50 for now. And I want 50 between each of these. Okay, that's giving us a little bit more room to work with. 70 up here, 50 down here. Not quite enough space for the text of our question. So what I'm going to do then is, because of the way I've been working with the spacing of either 50 or 100, I want to try that here. So let's see. I want to add 100 to this height. And let's center it. So if I use the down arrows, it'll move it 1 pixel at a time. If I hold shift while pressing down, it moves it 10 pixels at a time. So that's what I'm doing to kind of make this a little bit quicker. Okay, that feels better. We have some more spacing here. Our mentor button is not quite in the right spot where we want it to go. This might be something I play with to see like, where is a good spot for it? Kind of like that, 25, 25. Kind of a good space. Okay, so now I want to add in the question. This was body text. I think I'm going to use the subtitle spacing for sizing for my question. So I like this here. That's what I'm using for my subtitle. 38 because my style guide is 36. So like I said, I just add a couple pixels to account for line height. And the question is, what do you do? That might be a little bit shorter of a question. And there it's centered. But it feels a little bit off with this. And then everything is left aligned. So let's stick with left aligned. That's kind of a nice feel. I kind of like that. So here we can see we'll have some kind of background image. We'll have our question. Oh, we didn't worry about the spacing here. 56, 76. So let's go down. That looks good to me. All right, so we have some nice spacing above and below this. We have our answer choices. The layout's pretty good. We're going to have this full screen image in the back. The question can fly in. If we don't want it to take out all of the background, we can always add transparency. These are all decisions that we'll make when we get to the high fidelity mockup. One thing I'm thinking though is in this storyboard, it tells us that the fire is going to grow as time passes. So this is telling me I probably want to see some of that background kitchen where the fire is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and make another version of this. So this will be version 1. I'm going to select it and Control D to duplicate. Now I can just make iterations from here. I'm going to go ahead and do version 2 off screen, and then I'll be back to tell you about the changes I've made. Okay, so here is version 2. I went ahead and made a little triangle that's going to represent the fire in the background. So I may have to play around with that background image to shift things around as needed. But over here, I moved my question box. Here's where my question will go, my mentor button, and then my answer choices. I did still stick with that spacing of 50. And then here is 25. I may be able to adjust a little bit here and there. We'll see how things go. And it'll depend to how long this text ends up being. It was pretty short answers, so we'll see. The prompt here for the question is 81 from here and 81 from here. A little bit bigger or smaller than the 50 or 100. It's kind of an in-between, but it is centered with this button. You can see it's going right through the center. So it's centered with that. And this is 50 from everything. So I think that's okay. We have some space to work with. We definitely can make our mentor button bigger, which is something I was concerned about over here. So the kind of small gets lost. So I think that will be a good plan here as well. So actually, I'm going to leave a comment. So that when I move into other development, I remember I can make this bigger. And then, like I said, I have the fire here. I kind of like the way this looks. I did give this some like gray background just so it kind of pulls away from this box. One thing I will mention is here, this is not exactly 50 away. So I will show you why. So here's 50 and you can see it lined up with this. If we look, there's kind of this optical illusion happening with these rounded edges and with this text being over where it almost feels like this question is too far to the left. But giving it just a little bit more space kind of helps offset that a bit. And so it doesn't feel too far to the left anymore. Of course, I can still play with that. Wireframes are really just kind of giving us this first look and this basic layout. So I have two choices when I get to my high fidelity mockups. So I can either just cover that background screen, or have to incorporate the fire a different way, or I can do this so that you can see the fire growing, because that's what it says is going to happen. So as time passes, that fire is going to grow larger and larger to create a sense of urgency. So we want that to be visible. So I kind of like this idea. I could always move this prompt box to the left. I can do different things like that, but that's wireframing, is I can just focus on the layout solely. If I had the background images here that I was working with, I would be very distracted of trying to figure out where things are going to go exactly, making sure my colors match. And then if they didn't, then I'd be going back to my style guide and doing those colors. But I don't need all of that distraction right now. Right now, I just need to focus on the layout. And that's what we have here. We may share these wireframes up here using the share feature, and our stakeholders may tell us like, oh, you know what, we want to change this over here. And actually, could we have the character on this other side? And they may give us some feedback of changing things up, and that's okay. That's the point, right? Design is very iterative. We will make changes, and that's totally fine. If things change drastically, like, oh, you know what, let's do square buttons, we always want to remember to go back to change our style guide as well as we do things. But we just want to focus here on just those layouts. It's really important, though, that we have a starting point, that we have this blueprint to start from before we move into those high fidelity visual mockups, where we're going to add illustrations, we're going to add color, we're going to add in the text, where it's going to feel very real. We just want to make sure that we have just the basics down that we need. And we have this beautiful blueprint for our learning experience. Wireframes are the blueprints of our designs. They really help us figure out just the bare bones of things, where the text and buttons, illustrations, or all of those things are going to go. So it's nice. It removes all those distractions, give us just that like skeletal frame to work with. And now that we have our blueprints, our wireframes ready to go, we're going to be ready to move into the high fidelity mockups in the next video. If the work that we've been doing in these Figma videos has been inspiring to you to learn other tech tools, be sure to download the free Become an ID checklist, and we'll link that down in the description below as well. Like I said, next video is going to be high fidelity visual mockups, and I will see you there. Bye.